It was a typical afternoon in the bustling city, with the metro train running its usual route through the heart of the urban jungle. Elon Musk, always on the move, found himself in a rare moment of downtime, heading to a meeting. As he walked down the aisle of the train, his attention was unexpectedly drawn to a small figure sitting alone on one of the seats. A 5-year-old boy, small, unaccompanied, and clutching a faded red teddy bear, sat silently, staring out the window. His messy brown hair hung over his forehead, and his clothes, though ordinary, looked slightly worn. The boy appeared completely unfazed by the bustling crowd around him, as if he belonged there. Musk couldn't help but pause. The sight of the boy struck him. There was something odd about the boy. Something unsettling yet curious. Elon studied the child, unable to shake the feeling that something extraordinary was unfolding right before him. He took a seat across from the boy, his eyes never leaving the young face, trying to understand the situation. As the train hummed along the tracks, the moment between Elon Musk and the boy became increasingly charged. Musk couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that the child, so alone amidst the bustle of the crowded train, was carrying more than just the weight of solitude. Was he lost, abandoned, or was there something far deeper beneath his calm exterior? Elon's eyes followed the boy, who was perched on a worn-out seat, clutching a small, tattered teddy bear, as though it were the only tether to the world around him. The child's small frame seemed so fragile amidst the sea of adult passengers, their conversations and movements distant in comparison to the eerie stillness the boy emanated. Musk's mind raced. The boy's presence felt out of place, like an unspoken enigma unfolding within the confines of the train. Unable to ignore the pull of his curiosity, Elon leaned slightly toward the child, his voice gentle but tinged with concern. "Hey, are you okay?" he asked, his words soft but deliberate, breaking the stillness between them. His eyes searched for any flicker of response, hoping to gauge the boy's emotions, but the silence between them deepened, as if the question itself had unlocked something neither of them fully understood. The boy, still clutching the teddy bear with both hands, turned his head toward Elon, his eyes wide and innocent, yet piercing. They locked onto Musk's gaze with an unnerving intensity, as though the child could see right through him, beyond the surface of who he was. For a moment, the world seemed to shrink down to just the two of them, Elon trying to read the boy, and the child holding his secret behind his gaze. The train wheels clattered rhythmically beneath them, but all Musk could hear was the echo of his own curiosity. Elon, now even more intrigued, pushed further, his voice tinged with caution. "Where are your parents?" he asked, a question laced with concern, but also a growing sense of responsibility. Was the boy truly alone? Was he in danger? The boy remained silent at first, his gaze unbroken. He studied Elon for a moment, his expression unreadable, as though weighing the man's intentions with the wisdom of someone far older. Then, as if the answer had been locked away inside him, the child spoke. A soft voice, yet carrying an unexpected depth. "I'm not lost," he said, his words deliberate and calm, each syllable carefully chosen. "I'm waiting." Elon's breath caught in his chest. The boy's response was not what he had expected. The calmness, the certainty in his tone, sent a chill through him. Waiting for what? Waiting for whom? The words hung in the air between them like an unsolved riddle, their weight heavier than the silence they had just shared. Musk's mind raced, trying to unravel the cryptic message in the boy's voice. The child's maturity felt out of place, and the eerie certainty in his tone gave him a sense that there was far more to this situation than met the eye. What kind of child, so young, spoke with such calm assurance, as if he had knowledge beyond his years? And why did the boy seem so detached from the world around him, as though he were waiting for something that Elon couldn't even comprehend? The train continued to rattle along its tracks, but for Elon, the journey had shifted. The destination no longer mattered. There was something about this boy, something that reached into the core of Elon's being, making him feel both uneasy and inexplicably drawn to uncover the truth. What was this child waiting for, and why did it feel like the answer could change everything? Without warning, the lights inside the train flickered violently, casting eerie, distorted shadows that danced across the walls like ghostly figures. The hum of the train's engines, once steady and comforting, was suddenly replaced by a high-pitched whine, followed by an unsettling screech. The entire train lurched to a stop in the middle of a dark, tunnel-bound stretch of track, the sudden silence almost deafening after the shriek of the brakes. The rhythmic clatter of the wheels ground to a halt, and the darkness outside swallowed the train whole. Panic quickly began to ripple through the passengers. A few let out startled gasps, while others immediately began to scramble for their belongings, eyes darting nervously. Some rushed to the windows, trying to peer into the impenetrable blackness beyond. Others fumbled with their phones, their frantic fingers swiping and tapping in a desperate attempt to regain a sense of control in the face of the unexpected. Elon Musk's pulse quickened as he scanned the growing tension within the car, his instincts already on high alert. He glanced over at the boy, his thoughts racing. The child's calm demeanor remained utterly unchanged amidst the chaos. While everyone around them seemed to be caught in a wave of panic, the boy sat still, clutching his small teddy bear with an almost unsettling sense of serenity. The beginning, his gaze never wavered, and there was no hint of fear in his expression, as though he had been expecting this very moment. It was as if the train's sudden stop was nothing more than a minor inconvenience to him, something he had long known would happen. Elon felt a strange pull in his gut, a nagging feeling that something was deeply wrong. He quickly glanced around, his thoughts racing to understand what was unfolding, but his eyes always returned to the boy. There was something unnerving about the child's stillness, as if he were somehow tied to the inexplicable event. "Stay calm," Elon said, his voice low and reassuring, though it barely cut through the growing anxiety that had gripped the cabin. His words were meant for the boy, but they were also a reminder to himself. He couldn't help but feel a sense of responsibility, now more than ever, with this strange child seated so quietly beside him. But as much as he tried to remain composed, Elon couldn't shake the thought that the boy might somehow be connected to what was happening. Was this child's presence merely coincidental, or had he known this moment would come? As the tension inside the train thickened, the passengers' unease spread like wildfire. Some pressed frantically against the doors, attempting to open them, while others exchanged panicked whispers, eyes darting to the front and rear of the train, searching for any sign of movement, any explanation. But the boy? He simply sat there, undisturbed, as if everything unfolding round him was inconsequential. His hands, still clutching the teddy bear, never wavered, and his eyes, though still wide and innocent, seemed oddly distant, almost as though they were seeing something beyond the confines of the train, something no one else could perceive. Elon leaned in closer, his brow furrowed in confusion, curiosity and concern. He tried to suppress the growing sense of unease that was slowly creeping up his spine, but it was becoming harder to ignore. "Do you know what's going on?" he asked, his voice just above a whisper, as though he feared the answer. The boy had spoken with such certainty earlier, and Musk couldn't shake the feeling that the child knew more than he was letting on. The boy turned his head toward him, his expression as serene as ever, his small lips parting to speak. His voice was soft, almost too soft for anyone but Elon to hear over the commotion, yet there was an unmistakable weight behind the words. "It's just the beginning," the boy said, his tone steady and unwavering. "Wait." Elon's heart skipped a beat, his thoughts suddenly spiraling. The words hung in the air, a cryptic riddle that only deepened the mystery. Just the beginning of what? What was the child waiting for, and how did he know this moment wasn't the end, but merely the start of something far greater? The weight of the boy's words settled on Elon's chest, and he couldn't help but feel that the train's sudden stop was just the first of many unsettling events that would soon unfold. Whatever was happening, it was far from over. The tension in the train car was becoming unbearable. The flickering lights cast erratic shadows, turning every corner into something unrecognizable, unsettling. The high-pitched sound of distant voices echoed from the depths of the tunnel, their murmurs unintelligible but full of an unmistakable sense of urgency. The atmosphere was thick with unease as the passengers continued to shift and fidget, their panic only intensifying with each passing moment. Yet, through it all, the boy remained perfectly still, untouched by the growing hysteria that surrounded him. His calmness was unnerving, a stark contrast to the chaos unfolding just a few feet away. Elon's concern had evolved into something far deeper. The child's unwavering composure in the face of such turmoil only fueled his curiosity, transforming it into an insatiable need for answers. Who was this boy? Why wasn't he scared like the others? And why did it feel like this moment, this exact moment, was somehow destined to occur? Every instinct inside Elon screamed that something was amiss, that the boy's presence in this situation wasn't by chance. It was as if the child had known this would happen all along. As the train sat frozen in the darkness of the tunnel, the silence became more oppressive, suffocating even. Elon's mind raced, but the boy's calm, unblinking stare anchored him in place. Just as he was about to speak again, a voice cut through the stillness. The boy's voice. Soft, yet undeniably clear. "You're going to help me, aren't you?" The words were spoken with an eerie certainty, and though they felt like a question, the tone of the statement was absolute, as if the answer was already known. Elon's heart skipped a beat, a strange chill running down his spine. He hadn't expected this. There was something about the way the boy had spoken, something that made the request sound less like a plea and more like a foregone conclusion. "Help you with what?" Balan asked, his voice steady, though the curiosity in his eyes betrayed him. The train's halted stillness gave way to an almost surreal moment. The child's cryptic words echoed in his mind, but Alan couldn't fathom what kind of help this child would need, let alone why he would turn to him. Still, there was no denying the weight in the boy's gaze, or the unsettling certainty in his tone. Elon needed to understand. The boy, almost as if he had been waiting for the right moment, finally turned his gaze directly onto Elon. His eyes, wide and unblinking, were no longer filled with the innocent curiosity of earlier. Now they held a seriousness that was almost beyond his years, a gravity that seemed to shift the very air around them. He spoke again, his voice even more deliberate this time. "You will make everything right. You just need to listen to me." Elon's breath caught in his chest. The boy's words resonated deeply, as though they were meant for him and him alone. There was something in the way he spoke, so sure, so certain, that made it impossible for Elon to dismiss the statement as the ramblings of a frightened child. The words didn't feel like a request. They felt like a command, an instruction. But why him? Why now? For a brief moment, Elon's skepticism, the one that had defined so much of his life, began to crumble. In the face of the child's certainty, Elon felt an unfamiliar pull. There was an urgency in the boy's voice, a quiet but undeniable plea for help that Elon couldn't ignore, no matter how illogical the situation seemed. It was a strange, surreal moment, one that sent a ripple of something unexplainable through him. Elon, despite his usual rationality and logical thinking, found himself caught in the boy's gaze, suspended in that fleeting instant where doubt collided with an inexplicable trust. The child had asked for his help, and there was something in the way he had phrased it that made it clear that the boy was not simply asking, it was a promise, a statement of what was going to happen. Despite himself, Elon felt a powerful sense of urgency. The world around him seemed to fade, the train and the tunnel disappearing into the background as his mind focused solely on the boy. There was something about him, something about the way he spoke, that made Elon want to believe. And maybe, just maybe, the boy was right. Maybe, with his help, everything could be made right. But what was it that needed fixing? What was at stake, and why did the boy seem so certain that Elon was the one to help him. "All right," Elon said quietly, almost to himself, though his words carried the weight of a decision he hadn't fully understood yet. "I'm listening." The power eventually returned, and the train started moving again. However, this time, it was no longer business as usual. Elon, feeling a strange pull to the child, took out his phone and began to record the boy. "What is it that you want me to hear?" he asked, as the boy stared at him with piercing eyes. The boy's voice was low and clear. "You are going to change the world, but you have to believe it first." Elon, sensing the weight of the moment, nodded thoughtfully. The scene was filmed, but what came next was beyond anyone's expectations. The video of their encounter went viral within hours, captivating the world. People couldn't stop talking about the strange encounter between the tech billionaire and the mysterious boy. Was it a sign? A message for Musk? Or was it simply an extraordinary coincidence? The video spread like wildfire, and soon the boy's cryptic words would lead Elon on a path that would change not just his life, but the world around him. The whole world was left wondering, who was this boy, and what had he known all along? Subscribe for more stories.